right, welcome to Fourlane's QuickBooks Enterprise Deep Dive. My name is Dina Nall. I am going to be walking you guys through how we create customers in QuickBooks Enterprise. And we're going to get started, okay? So this is QuickBooks Enterprise. This is just a sample file. So to create a customer, right, we have several ways that we can get there. So we can click on customers right here on our main dashboard. Or we could go up to customers and customer center here. Either one is going to get you to the same place, and that's going to bring you to our customer center. Okay. To create a new customer, we'll click on new customer and job, and then new customer from there. And this is what we call the customer card, right? So this is where all of our customers' information is stored, and this is where we will input all of the data that we need to track for our customers. Okay. So on our customer name here, this is the name that you'll see in your customer center. This is also the name that differentiates it from any other customer. So this name has to be unique. It cannot be the same as any other customer. It cannot be the same as any other vendor, so on and so forth. It has to be fully 100% unique. So if, for example, you have Tim Smith as a customer, and maybe you end up having another Tim Smith, right? You might need to add a -1 or a star or something to differentiate the two customers, okay? Now this opening balance field here, we never recommend that this is used, okay? Sometimes if you think, oh, well, this customer already owes me, $5,000, you can just pop that in here. But this field doesn't allow you to separate that amount that's owed into different transactions, right? Maybe this customer has 2 or 3 invoices. This is just going to create one transaction as of the date that you're putting this customer in. It makes it a little bit more difficult to track as far as accounts receivable aging. So this is a field that we typically recommend that you turn off. That's a setting that you can change in our preferences. So leave this one alone. Now our company name, this name can be the same as another customer or vendor, right? This one doesn't have to be unique, okay? So if our company name is different than our customer name, right, we can put in a different name here. In our case, it's going to be all the same. If you wanted to include a care of, or if you want to track a specific contact, right, with this company, with this customer, you can put in their information here. Now you'll notice that when I put in our company name, filled in down here in our address details, and we'll get into that in just a minute. You'll also notice if I put my information in here, that it fills in that care of information down in the address details as well, okay? And then if we have a job title for that specific person, right, perhaps they are the accounts receivable clerk, perhaps they are the accounts payable clerk, right? Whatever the case is, we can put that information here, okay? The rest of these fields here, these are for other contact information, right? You can use these drop downs to select a multitude, right? We've got alternate phone numbers, alternate emails, we even have Twitter, which is now X, right? Skype, right? We can track all sorts of different contact information here, okay? Now we do typically recommend that the first 2 here remain main phone and main email. Because not all of these remaining fields are something that we can import into, right, if we are moving our data into a QuickBooks file. But you are welcome to change those to be able to track whatever data it is that you need for this particular customer. Okay. All right, so in our address details, we have our invoice or bill to, and we have a ship to field here, okay? So this box is important to understand how this works, right? This is the information that is going to go on your invoices. So if you are mailing invoices, for example, this is the information that's going to go into that window on that envelope, okay? So if you just put in the street address here, right, that's not going to include the company name when we go to mail the invoice or the statement or what have you. Okay, so we want to make sure that the company name is in here. And if we have a care of, right, we can add that information here. Okay, and then we can just put in our address information, right? Okay. You could copy this over to a ship to address, right? That's okay, nothing wrong with that. But I want to look at our little edit box here, okay? So this gives us a little bit more of a structure in how we set up the address, okay? So the address fields up here, this is the street address, right? Company name, care of, street address, and then it will break down our city, state, and zip for us. And we can include a country or a region, right? If we do business in another country, that's okay too. We can also include a note down here, right? Sometimes people want to include a phone number or an email or whatever the case is, okay? So you can include notes down here as well. Now ship to, right? Ship to works kind of similarly to our build to address, except this would go on any of our shipping documentation if we're shipping things out of QuickBooks. The difference here is that our ship to addresses have names, right? You can have more than one ship to address, but for tracking purposes, that's not always the best option, right? If we have one store and we have multiple locations that we ship to, for example, it's a little bit harder to report on sales by location or profit by location, right? So if we're using it for that, right, there may be a better option. We might be able to use jobs in that instance, which would give us some more in-depth reporting on P&L by location, right? But you can fill this in nonetheless. All the address fields work the same way, okay? And we have those notes again as well. Moving on to our payment settings. This account number here, now a lot of times when clients come out of other accounting systems, right, account number is something that they've used to reference their clients for a while, right? And that can be put here, but this isn't a field that QuickBooks is going to automatically generate for you. So this would be something that you would generate internally to assign to your customers, okay? So you can use that. Payment terms, this is where you set the default for this customer. This is always changeable when you get to the transaction, right? So if typically this customer is on a net 15 terms, but for one specific sale, right, you're gonna give them net 30 instead, right? You can change that at the transaction level, but when you go to create the transaction to start with, it will default to the terms you've selected here. Preferred delivery method, again, this is just the default for this customer. If you know that this customer wants their invoices or their statements emailed or mailed, right, that is going to automatically select that option on those transactions. Okay. And then if they have a preferred payment method, right, if you know that this customer always pays cash or check or Visa, okay, you can select that. Credit limit allows us to not oversell to customers who may not be able to pay for as much as they want to order, right? If we ever have a customer that we don't want to sell to again, right? Maybe they just didn't pay for the things that they purchased from us last time and we just don't want to sell to them again, we would put a 0 here in the credit limit, right? And that's going to give us a pop-up when we go to create a transaction that says, hey, this customer has a 0 credit limit. Are you sure you want to sell to this customer? Okay. Otherwise, if we actually do still want to sell to the customer, okay, we can put in our credit limit here of 10,000, whatever you want that to be. Okay. Price levels are where you can assign custom pricing to your customers, right? The ones that exist here in my sample file: commercial, industrial, residential. If you are in a retail, you might say, direct to consumer pays full retail, but my wholesale customers, they get a specific discount so that they can include their own markup, okay? A lot of different uses for this if that is something that your company does, okay? You can store your customer's credit card information, okay? It is PCI compliant. Once you put the information in here, it's only going to show you those last 4 digits, okay? And then you can allow your customers to pay via credit card or bank transfer, right? So what this does is it puts a link in the emailed transaction that you send to your customer so that they can click on that link, input their payment information, and be done, right? And we know that the easier you make it for your customers to pay you, the more likely they are to pay you quicker, So that makes it really easy for your customers to pay you. If we look at sales tax, right, this is a setting that you can turn on if you need to track sales tax, or turn off if you do not. In my sample file, it is on. So we set up tax or non-tax if you have tax exempt for resale, if you have tax exempt for nonprofits, right? You can set up new tax codes for those. You would set up your sales tax items, right? City sales tax, state sales tax. If you have combined sales tax, right, where you pay a portion of it to the state and a portion of it to the city, you can set up sales tax groups. And then if you have that resale number, right, if you are selling to a wholesaler who's going to resell it, right, you can track their resale number here. You can also attach their resale certificate to the company itself, right? You have the ability to make that attachment to the customer, okay? On the additional info tab, we have our customer type. Now, this is a very, very powerful field. We can run a lot of different reports based on customer type, including P&L, sales by customer type, all sorts of different things. So a lot of people will use this commercial or residential. You might do wholesale versus resale, retail, I mean. You might do different regions if you sell in different areas. So a lot of different uses for that. The rep field here is for tracking sales reps. If you have sales reps out in the field and you need to track what they sell for commission calculations, or if you wanted to just see who's doing better at selling, right? You can track that sales rep. This is going to show up on your sales transactions so that is connected to the sale, right? That dollar amount is connected to that sales rep. Okay. And then custom fields. Custom fields are very, very powerful because, again, we can run a lot of different reports based on the data that is stored in these fields, okay? This sample file has a contract number, right? We're tracking this particular customer's birthday and their spouse's name. You can track whatever you like here, okay? All you do is you set up a label. What do you want to call it? You choose that you want to use it for customers, and then you can choose what kind of data you'd like to use, okay? You can use numbers, dates, phone numbers. You can even do a multi-choice list in Enterprise. Okay. Now, if we add custom fields here at the customer level, okay, those are going to show up on our sales transactions in the header area. Let me show you what I mean here. Okay. So when we set it up at the customer area, we can add those fields to populate in this top area here, okay? They won't populate in the body, right, in the main portion here. They'll populate in the header. So that's where that data can exist if we need to add that to our sales transactions, okay? Our job info tab, so we're just creating a customer, not a job, but we can still put in job description. Job type works very similarly to customer type. We can run our sales reports based off of that. Job status, right? If we want to track what jobs do we have that are in progress, which ones are closed, which ones did we lose, right? We can track that. We can run reports for that. Start date, projected end, and end date as well. Those are all reportable fields, okay? So that's how we create a customer. Let me close out of here. There are a few other ways that we can create a customer. For example, if you are in a retail store, right? And you have a customer that just walks in and you want to create a sales receipt for them, right? You can come here and you can type into this customer job field here, right? Whatever this particular customer's name is, okay? And when you hit tab, it's going to tell you, hey, you don't have this one. And we have two options here. Now this quick add, this is only going to set the customer up with the name that you've provided in this field, okay? It's not going to give you any other opportunities during the sale to put in address, contact information, credit limit, any of those other things that we've already looked at, okay? If we choose setup, we will get that new customer card information just like we had previously, and we have all of those same fields, payment settings, etc., to fill in, okay? Okay. Now, if we look at our customer Center, I want to point out just a few things that we can do here, right? I mentioned that we can attach things to our customers. We can also right-click and we can customize the columns that are displayed here in our Customer Center. So any of the available fields, right? These are all fields that exist in that customer card. We can select from those to put into this side view. So, for example, our job status. If we want to be able to very easily look at our customer list and see what jobs are in progress, what jobs are closed, what jobs still need to be started, maybe we add job status to our columns here, okay? And then you can see that information here. Okay? You can also sort by these, right? Now we do have jobs and customers and jobs in here, so the sorting is a little bit different, but you can still take a look and see which jobs are in progress, which ones are not. Okay. And if you ever just want to get rid of it, right, you go back to customers, customize, and you remove it. Okay. So that's how we create customers. I know that that was a pretty quick run through of that, but if you guys have any questions, we do have a questions option here in the webinar. If you have any, I'd love for you to pop those in there for me, and I will do my very best to answer them. In the meantime, since we have the extra time, let's talk a little bit about the job, right? How this is structured. So in QuickBooks, we can set up a parent customer and then a job or a child customer, right? And so what that allows us to do is, if we go back to the idea that we have multiple stores that we sell to for the same company, right? We could set up that company as our primary customer, and then each of those locations as jobs within, okay? Now, when we set up a job, we have almost all the same fields that we do for customers, okay? Again, the job name has to be unique. The trick being that it has to be unique within the customer that it's under, okay? So if you have two different customers that both have stores in San Francisco, you can name the jobs both San Francisco. One will be under company ABC San Francisco, and one would be under company XYZ San Francisco. So the job name has a little more flexibility because of the customer name above it. Okay. Again, company name, a contact person, job title, all of the same fields here as far as bill to, ship to, contact information. On payment settings, we can set a different account number, we can set a preferred delivery method and a preferred payment method, but you'll notice that we don't have the terms, right? Those terms are going to be set at the customer level. We also can have a credit limit and a price level, and we can store the same credit card information and allow the same easy payment options if we email our invoices or statements. Again, customer type, rep, all the same custom fields, all of that is the same. Okay, and you'll notice that that sales tax tab is no longer here. Again, sales tax is going to be set at the customer level, not the job. And then this is where that job info might come in really, really handy. If you are in a construction industry, right, this is going to be very, very key for you guys to be able to track, okay, is this a residential? Is it a remodel? Is it commercial? What is it that we're working on? We can include our start date, all of those things. We can track everything here. Okay. So jobs work very similarly to customers. And then you can actually send a customer statement, right? So if this head customer, for example, wants to see what all of their different locations owe, right? What's outstanding, you can send a statement at the customer level, or you can send it at the individual job level, okay? You can also run reports for the entire customer, as well as for individual jobs, okay? So that's a really, really helpful functionality if you need to track either multiple locations, if you've got the same company and you do multiple jobs for that company. There's a lot of different uses for that. Okay. Any questions? Feel free to pop those into the into that questions area for me. If there's anything about customers that I haven't covered, that I didn't walk through, I want to make sure I touch on those for you guys. Okay, I don't see any questions popping in here. Oh, there we are. We got one. How do you handle a large company with many buyers within that company? So if we've got, if I'm understanding the question correctly, we are selling to a large company that has multiple different entities within it, right? So I would set that up the same way here. I would set up my customer and I would set up my job. Now that is going to depend on a few things because remember that job, you can't set separate terms for the job and you can't set separate sales tax settings for that job, right? So if those things need to be different for the entities within that company, you may need to set them up as individual customers, okay? And you can do that, right, by saying company ABC and putting, you know, store 456, right, whatever that particular unique name is for that buyer within that company. You can set them up all as customers if that sales tax information is important. You can also go several levels deep with our jobs, right? So in the construction industry, right, I've seen if we, for example, we do business with DR Horton, right? We do a lot of new construction with that company. So maybe we have DR Horton as our company, and then we have several different neighborhoods that we're building in, right? So we set up the neighborhood as a job. And then maybe we want to be real specific and we want to track the individual house numbers, right? We could set up a new job, right? We can go here to add job within that job, right? So we can make this several layers deep if we're needing to track very, very granular information for specific jobs that we're doing, okay? Okay. Well, I will give you guys about 6 minutes back in your day today. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us here at Fourlane. We are always happy to help and make the most of your QuickBooks software. I hope you guys have a great day.